Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about something that every woman needs to hear, especially if you're working a 9-to-5 or juggling corporate life and trying to create freedom for yourself. This video is for you. I have my notes here, so we're going to talk about why relying on one paycheck in 2025 is one of the riskiest things that you can ever do. And we're almost in 2026 now, and so one paycheck is just not enough nowadays. So let's get right into it. If your entire life is based on one paycheck from one employer that you don't control, that's not stability, that's vulnerability, okay? And a lot of us grew up being told that a job equals security. But the truth is, the job market today is nothing like it used to be. Let's be honest. People with 10, 15, 20 years at a company are getting laid off. So I left my last job in July of this year. Earlier in 2025, earlier this year, my job started laying people off. Now, in January, I was told by my upper leadership that we weren't planning on laying off any of our staff. Okay. So in my last role, I was a manager. And so there was conversations on how we needed the membership was not where it needed to be, and that we needed to find ways to reduce cost. But we were told I was told, and my other peers were told that layoffs would be the last result, that they weren't even thinking about laying anybody off. So this was around January, February of this year. Then 2 or 3 months later, out of nowhere, they started laying off people. And they actually laid off 2 of my direct reports, 2 people that reported to me. And I was told the last minute, like the day of the layoffs was the day that I was told we're letting go so-and-so and so-and-so. So I said all that to say this. No job is guaranteed, okay? No job is guaranteed. It's always good to have a backup plan or something else in place just in case you get laid off. So let me paint the picture for you. As I said, companies are doing layoffs. And nowadays, companies are doing layoffs every quarter. Now, it's not just the low performers. Sometimes it's the entire team, okay? Sometimes they're letting go the whole department, okay? Here's the thing. It's not personal. It's not even about your worth. It's about budgets, profits, and whatever direction the company decides to move in. You could be the hardest worker there and still be one leadership change away from losing your income. That's the part nobody talks about, okay? So when I left my job in July of 2025, I was not let go. I actually resigned because I had options, okay? And by that time, things were just getting weird with upper leadership. There was a lot that was going on, and I got to a point where I said, you know what? I have all these other skills, all these other talents. I have my online business. I'm not settling for this treatment. So I walked. I left. And I'm not saying that to tell you to quit your job. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you that I had options, and I want you to have the same options. And that's why it's so important to have multiple streams of income, okay? Let's talk about money. Let's talk money. Cost of living is up, housing is up, groceries are up, insurance are up, but salaries, raises, promotions, they're not keeping up. A lot of people are getting 1 to 3% raises when inflation is 7 to 10%. Crazy. So no, you're not struggling because you're bad with money. You're struggling because the math is literally not mathing. A single paycheck just isn't stretching the way it used to, okay? It's just not stretching. When your entire livelihood depends on one job, you start operating from fear, not from power. And that's the beautiful thing about having multiple streams of income. Because when you're at a point on your job where you know that your time is up, you don't have to feel like you're stuck. Okay? You don't have to feel like, oh, I have to stay at this job. There's no way out. There's no other way that I could pay my bills. How am I going to pay my bills next month? Because when you rely on one income stream, you tolerate more stress, you tolerate disrespect, you tolerate micromanaging, you tolerate being overworked and underpaid because you feel like you need that job to survive. That is not freedom. That is simply survival mode, okay? And when you're in survival mode, it becomes really hard to make decisions that actually support your happiness, your peace, or your long-term goals. One source of income equals one source of control. When you have income coming in from something other than your job, you breathe easier. You feel safer. You feel more confident. You make decisions from power, not fear. You speak up when something is off. You don't panic when your boss sends you a random meeting invite. And most importantly, you have options. I'm going to keep on saying that, okay? You have options. Options change your life. And I'm not talking about having to build a whole business. I'm talking about even a few $100s a month at first. Something that shows you, oh wow, I can actually earn outside of my paycheck. I remember that feeling. I remember when I made my first online sale. That's when that's when it hit me that I can do this. That this is possible for me, that I can actually make money outside of a paycheck. Once I experienced that, there was no turning back. Did I quit my job immediately? No, I didn't. But I definitely pushed harder to build my online business. I invested in myself to develop certain skills I needed so that I could market my business. Okay. I took the skills from my corporate job and monetized off of that. I allowed my corporate skills to work for me. Instead of me working for it, I allowed my skills to work for me. Now, most women think additional income means going back to school, getting certified, learning something brand new, or building a huge social media following. Now, I'm on several platforms, and I'll just be flat out honest with you. I do not have 10,000s of followers. I don't have 100,000s of followers. Across all of my platforms, my following is, I would say, rather small compared to others, but I have still been able to generate additional streams of income online. Now, some of the most profitable offers come from things you're already doing every day. Organizing, training, managing, communicating, problem solving, coordinating, writing, supporting a system. These same skills can become the foundation of an offer people will actually pay for. You're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. You have so much experience that you can utilize, you just don't realize it. The moment I realized relying on one paycheck wasn't safe, I started looking at my skills differently. I wasn't thinking, how can I get promoted? I was thinking, how can I create income outside of corporate? I packaged my skills. I created my first offer. And when I made my first dollar outside of my job, it gave me a confidence I hadn't felt in years. Not because it was a lot of money, but because it came from me, not my job. And this is exactly why I created the Corporate Exit Challenge. Not to help women quit their jobs, but to help women stop depending on one job. And in this challenge, I show you how to take your existing skills and turn them into income you can control on the side without burning out, without overwhelm, or starting over. Because like I said, you already have the skills, so there's no need to start over. Here's what I want you to take away from this video and from my notes. You don't need to leave your career. You don't need to start from scratch. You don't need to become a whole new person. You just need to build one additional income stream that gives you flexibility, breathing room, and real options. Your job should be a choice, not your lifeline. And the best time to build additional income is before you need it. Like I said, I walked away from my 9-to-5 back in July. Next month will be six months that I walked away from my 9-to-5. Okay, but I was prepping to, like, a year and a half before I decided to walk away from my 9-to-5. Okay, so I'm not telling anyone to quit their job. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not against, corporate America. I'm not saying I'm against I'm not against corporate America. I'm just against having to rely on a job, okay? I'm against that. I am all for flexibility and options, okay? I'm all for having enough income where when I'm ready to walk away from that job, I can bounce because my bills are still going to be paid. I can walk away from that job and still have income coming in while I look for another job. Now, before I go, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment to let me know if this hit home for you. And if you're ready to start building income, go ahead and click the link in the description below to join the Corporate Exit Challenge, where I'm going to show you exactly how to monetize off your corporate skills, turn those skills into cash flow. Talk to you next time.